What's going on? What's going on? I'm Eugene Napoleon. This is Napoleon's Corner. Hope all is well. Before I get started, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate your support. This is actually episode 205, and this particular topic is an interesting one. And it's one that when I say the term, when you get a chance, please look it up for yourself. And in the comment section, as you're looking at this particular episode, give me a few comments of what you think once you look it up. Okay. So this episode is actually called Identity Fusion. Identity Fusion. And it's an insight for me, the way I look at it. Anytime you have insight, and the reason why insight is important, because once you understand something, then you kind of know how to deal with it. You know how to go about working on it and dealing with it. So this identity fusion, it's really a psychological term, right? It's a psychological concept. And what it does, it describes a deep sense of oneness with a group and or members of a group where personal and social identities blur, leading to strong pro-group behaviors that can even affect you in a personal way. It could affect, from a personal cost perspective, no matter what it is, once you blur those lines, I think from a behavior standpoint, we start to feel a little bit differently, and we're not even possibly thinking for ourselves. And that's really the crux of what identity fusion is. It's a psychological term, whatever, but when you really look at the depths of it, it is a blurred identity, and it's a concept of you're not really, it leads you into a thought process where, again, you're not really thinking for yourself. You're thinking on a line of what somebody else is leading you to think, right? And it's almost like you've lost your identity. It's almost like you lost your way. It's almost like you lost a sense of, I'll say it, like a sense of reality, a sense of right from wrong, a sense of, even if there's something that's factual, because you're not going to go with that. You're going to go the complete opposite, or you're going to go with the members of a particular group that is pushing a certain agenda and or narrative. And you've lost your way with your own identity. You've fused your identity and your beliefs into what somebody else is doing or a group of people are doing. And that's why it's called identity fusion. So, and what made me want to tackle this particular topic, I'm always interested in listening when people are talking to me and they're asking questions, and then certain things come up. And if they're interesting to me, I feel like, you know what, this is a topic of discussion that I think I should lend this to my Napoleon's Corner channel, because it's a really interesting topic. And I've heard this before. I've heard this a few years ago. And it's something that makes you think. And for me, if it's thought-provoking enough, then it's open game for free and clear conversation, right? So once again, insight. I said I'm going to take this opportunity to tackle this particular topic and give some insight on it. And I obviously want your comments as well, because it's important. It's important. Identity fusion maps a whole, it's levels to it, but it maps out a whole long list of other things that, if we're not careful, we fall prey to this. And you don't want anything blurring the lines from what's reality versus what's fiction versus what's good versus what's bad. Things that blur those lines, and it alters our behaviors, our perspectives, and it's costing us in a personal sense, where it might be costing us really good relationships, friendships, whatever. It's costing us the ability to meet really good people, because we're not really, from an identity standpoint, we're really not looking at it through our own personal lens. We're kind of being drugged into somebody else's false narrative or somebody else's reality or somebody else's their temperament of how they want to view a group of people or even a person. I don't like that person because of A, B, and C. And we're not thinking about it through our own personal experience with that individual or group of people. We're only following this identity fusion theory or concept. And you miss out on really getting to know and meeting really good, solid people. That's why I'm having this discussion, because I think once you do that, you really blew a great opportunity to meet some really great people and to get to know some really good people. So don't let that be the case where this is, again, a personal and social identity crisis. Not for you, you know what I mean? It can't be. You meet people, and I think it's probably more important. I know when I meet somebody, I'm not too interested in what somebody else said about this person. I want to get to know this particular individual or group of people for myself. Let me be let that order of business go like this. I meet a person, no matter what I've heard from somebody else, I want to see how that person or group of people react to me. You know, how do I get along with this individual or group of people versus me listening to somebody else in their false narratives or me listening to somebody else in their false agendas. I want to get to know someone on for their own merit, as I would hope someone would want to get to know me for mine. It's really simple. I'm not going by what somebody else said about this person or group of people. I want to experience that for myself, because what if you're dealing with somebody else who's telling, yeah, man, don't deal with Johnny. Johnny's not a good dude. Well, I just met Johnny. Johnny didn't give me any reason not to like or dislike him. Let me get to experience Johnny on my own accord. I don't know, man. You don't talk to Beth. Beth's a snitch. Beth is this. Beth is that. Well, let me experience that. Maybe Beth was that to you because you're the one that's the problem. Maybe you're a snitch. Maybe you are this or that, and you don't want Beth to get to know anybody else because Beth may speak the truth. Ha, okay. So let me get to know Beth for myself. Let me experience Beth. Maybe I'm not going to have that same experience that you had. So those are two quick little scenarios, but get to know people for who they are, not for who somebody else claims they are. Experience relationships in people, again, on your own accord, not through some type of psychological concept called identity fusion, because somebody wants you to blur the lines of how they are manipulating the situation and or information, so it impacts how you meet people and how you deal with relationships. Be really wary of that, because if anybody can tell you something bad about somebody, you flip it, they can just as easily tell you something good. It's all about perspective at that point. The same way somebody can spread misinformation and poor information and bad information, if you really look at it, everything can't be bad. You can find good in everyone. Now, whether or not you want to deal with that particular individual or group of people, once you find out what the real deal is for yourself, not to anybody else, but for yourself, then you get to determine whether or not you want to build a relationship with said individual or group of people. It's really just that simple. So in other words, in closing, think for yourself. Be your own advocate for how you think and how you want to experience relationships with people. Don't let somebody else pull your chain and drag you along and have you riding, on what they're saying, and what they're saying has no truth to it at all. And like I said, in short, you wound up ruining an opportunity where you could have met a really good, solid person. Don't get caught up in this whole identity fusion thing. Think for yourself. You'll go a lot further. Think for yourself. I'm Eugene Napoleon. This is Napoleon's Corner. I'll see you next week. Take care.